Okay, so I'm shortly going to be on a plane to collect another one of these bad boys at Berlin Marathon. This medal was from 2019 and I went 2:29:51. I broke 2:30 for the first time. And last year, the Eliud Kipchoge medal, I was chasing 2:20 and I ran 2:20 in 8 seconds. So hopefully I'm going to fall on the right side of seconds this time. But yeah, this is actually a bit of a bonus video. I wasn't going to originally make one just before the race, but I thought if you've been following my journey from the start, you deserve to know my race tactics and how I'm planning to break 2:20 this time. And then I'll also throw in a few of my top tips within race week and what to do just before race. But before I do that, if you want to, please feel free to go ahead and predict my marathon time for Sunday. Please feel free to predict Kipchoge's marathon time as well. And if you get mine and his time right, I'll have to organize an epic prize. Do I think Kipchoge is going to break the world record? I think odds are probably stacked against him. He's obviously getting older each year, and his last race at Boston didn't go according to plan. But one thing I've come to realize in this game is you can never, ever, ever underestimate Eliud Kipchoge. And I think I actually am back. I think he's going to run for the world record. I think last year he actually ran to try and break 2 hours, going through halfway in under an hour. But I think this year, if he runs for the world record, then he could do like a 2:01:05 and just shave off 4 seconds or something like that. I really hope he does. He's an absolute legend of the sport. And I'll see him at the start area for a good old fist pump before we get going, that's for sure. Conditions ahead of Sunday are looking pretty good actually. So they range from between I think 13 and 17 during the time that I'm going to be running. Ideally, I thrive in colder conditions. Like my ideal is like between 3 and 7. But you know what? It's pretty much as good as you're going to get in Berlin. And this past Sunday, I think it was like 28 degrees. So honestly, like we got to take it and try and take advantage of it. We cannot complain. Okay, so now onto my race tactics and how I'm going to try and break 2:20 this time. So last year, I ran with a negative split strategy. I went through halfway in 70 minutes and 16 seconds. And I did the second half in 69:52. Okay, so that was a 24-second negative split. I stuck with the group until halfway, and then the group started slowing quite a bit between 21 and 25. So at that stage, I would say I was probably around 40 to 45 seconds above 2:20. I gave it my absolute all. I was feeling really good, but it just wasn't enough. And looking back at it, I remember thinking to myself at 28Ks, like, I shouldn't be feeling this comfortable. I should have gone out a little bit more aggressively, I think, in hindsight. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do this year. So this year, I'm aiming to go through halfway in 69:45. Okay, so that's 30 seconds quicker than what I did last year. And yeah, I suppose just hoping to run an equal split. By going through halfway a bit quicker than last year, it does mean I'm going to suffer for a bit longer. It's going to be a bit harder. I'm completely aware of that. But I feel like, you know, going through that at halfway is sort of my best chance at breaking 2:20. When it comes to when the margins are so close, you definitely need to work with people and groups. And I encourage you to do the same in big races. And it just makes it so much easier if you're in a group or a pack until a certain point. They never or rarely do they last all the way till the end. So like I said, last year I was in a group until 25Ks, but the group slowed from 21 to 25Ks quite drastically. I should have made a break before then. I decided to sit tight and it was a little bit too late. So what I'm hoping for this year is that I should be in a group until halfway. There's quite a few people that are targeting that time. And then if I've banked a bit of time, because 69:45 would give you a 2:19:30 at the end, then if the group starts slowing, which groups and people naturally normally start slowing already from halfway onwards, then I'm going to stick with it up until a certain point. So if I'm running 3:18s per kilometer and we go through 69:45, and then from then on it goes to 3:19, 3:20, 3:21, I'm going to stick with it. I think if it gets to 3:22, that might be like, you know, make a decision. This is obviously in the ideal race situation as well. Like all marathons have different variables and stories, and who knows what could actually happen. But if I play the scenario out in my head, this is the way it's going to play out, hopefully. So then from 24Ks to 34Ks, I actually want to try and conserve a bit of energy. So we would have banked a few seconds at halfway. Then 24 to 34, maybe lose 1 second per kilometer for those 10Ks, but reserving energy, because at 34Ks, there's obviously 8.2Ks to go. And I feel like if I can just smell it, taste it, and I mean, you're not going to feel fresh with 8Ks to go, but feel like I can pick it up ever so slightly, then we're going to do it, guys. Then we're going to do it. But that's obviously, in the perfect race environments. I completely understand that there's a lot of variables on race day that could happen. Going through halfway in 69:45, which is 30 seconds quicker than last year. One thing to consider is that when I did Seville in February this year, I went through halfway in 68 low. So a minute and a half faster than that. And I went through halfway 68 low feeling like $1,000,000, feeling like I was on track for a 2:16. And at that point in time, I really thought, this is insane what's going on. Like, I can do it. And then reality just went boom. Whenever I do a marathon, I get to the last 8 to 10Ks of the race and think like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. They are so hard, especially when you're pushing your body to your limits. And I know this time is going to be no different. But you know what? One thing or two things give me peace of mind. One is that for the first hour of a marathon, you're not in that much pain. Like, you shouldn't be. If you are, you're going to be in trouble. So it's just about concentrating, conserving energy for that second half, or that last third that truly counts. And the second thing is, last year I did 4 marathons in 4 weeks. So I went Berlin, London, Chicago, Cape Town. And I think even though I wasn't targeting those specifically, I was going all out at Berlin. In the back of my mind, I subconsciously knew that I had 3 marathons coming up over the next 3 weeks. After this race, I don't have a single race planned for the rest of the year. So I'm going to leave absolutely nothing out there. It's going to be the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to mentally prepare over the next few days for it. And I can promise you, at Brandenburg Gate with 352 meters to go, I will be on my absolute limits, and I'll give it a full send for that last little bit. And I think in running, just getting to the start line is an achievement in itself. I've been as open and honest throughout this block as possible, and it's been the toughest training block by far that I've ever put in. And the fact that we've got through sub 220 training and we have a chance is, such a huge win in my eyes. So I'm going to appreciate every single second of it. I'm going to soak it up. Being around Kipchoge at that start area is still mind-blowing to me. I've got 45 Best Athletics teammates going there. It's an Adidas runners. There's going to be so many. So it's just going to be an incredible weekend and event, which I'm going to soak up completely. And you know what? Like, the time is a bonus. So if I do break 220 there, I mean, I don't even want to think about that. I think if that happens, even the winner of Berlin will look at me and be like, I wish I was as happy as that guy. But if I don't, like, you know what, it's not going to make me an any better or worse person. You don't go to the gates of heaven and get judged on your marathon time. Like, my family will still be there, work will still be there, my team will still be there. So at the end of the day, the time is just a bonus. Okay, now on to 3 tips that I'm going to give you before a race. So the night before a race, you always have a bit of adrenaline. You start playing scenarios over in your mind, and often you don't sleep very well the night before a race. So it's the night before that becomes very important. So if your race like Berlin's on a Sunday, Friday night is really important to get good rest. You really want to bank at least, 8 to even 9 hours that night. And that way, if you don't sleep as well the night before, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. The second tip is write split times down on your arm. Can you believe I forgot to do it last year? But I'll be writing the exact times I want to go through every 5Ks. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. And that way, at least you know how you're tracking. Obviously, with smartwatches and the GPS in this watch is pretty accurate, but you want to mark it exactly against course markers so that you know you're tracking for the right time. And then lastly, probably one of the most important things is that we live in a day and age where social media is just a bit crazy. And as soon as you finish, it's like on Strava, update Strava, what's this person going to think of me, so on and so forth. Like, forget about that for those 42.2Ks. It's your day, it's your race, it's what you've trained for. That stuff, it'll always be there. And don't get caught up in the trap of, when running, thinking of, what's this person going to think of me, or this person did this time and I need to do this. Like, no, it's your day, run your own race, and forget about all the social media side of it, because you really want to dial in to give yourself the best possible chance. Cool. Hope those tips help you. Then I want to go into my Dexa scan. So I went for a Dexa scan this week, which basically just, gives you your body composition and what your body's made of. And I love going for one before a big race or before a full marathon send like this one, just that I can compare my best results versus, what I was weighing, what my bone density was, what my fat percentage was, and so on and so forth. So there's a few interesting findings. The first of which is that my chest size has increased by 3.5%. And that's no surprise, because my little one's gotten a bit bigger, and often, she goes on my shoulders and stuff like that. That is what it is. Like, I'm not going to not put her on my shoulders because I don't want to pick up 3.5% in my chest area because I want to break 220. Like, no, we train hard, fuel hard, live hard. So that's one thing. The other thing to note is that my bone density has increased, which is great. So I didn't get any niggles this block, bones and body's feeling really good. So that's good for long-term longevity. And then the other thing is that my T-score is positive. So first time I've ever had a positive T-score, which is great. And then lastly, and interesting enough, is, I'm feeling stronger than ever, but it's also the highest my body fat percentage has been in the last 3 years. So I'm currently at 10.6% body fat percentage. My height is 184 centimeters. And I'm weighing at the moment 75.4 kgs. Okay. So if I look back to 2 years ago, when I set my 5K PB at 14:34 and my half marathon PB at 66:19, I think those were probably my best performances in my running career to date. I was 75.1 kgs. Okay, so very similar to that. If I look at Berlin last year, I was 73.9. So yeah, I fluctuate quite a lot. So that's a difference of 1.6 kgs. I wouldn't say I'm feeling any stronger or weaker than Berlin last year. But who knows? Maybe, this extra body fat percentage might just give me that energy I need for that last section. We'll find out in a couple of days' time. But yeah, just remember, weight and body fat percentage and all of that, it's not the be all and end all. Stronger always means faster. And, in this game, you want to fuel hard, train hard, race well. Lastly, I just want to say a massive thanks to everyone who has supported this journey. What a block it's been. Each block and each race tells a different story. Guys, I know there's so many people backing me and wanting me to do a sub 220, and I really want to do it for you guys. But I also, most importantly, want to do it for myself, because it's a challenge that I set for myself that, was out of my wildest dreams one day, and it's become more than just a time. It's a challenge to myself to showcase that I can do something that I never thought I was once capable of. So yeah, the rest is up to me to go and get it. And the biggest thank you has got to go to my wife, Taryn. You're an absolute legend. Training, sub 220 training and 2 toddlers. It's a tricky combination, but yeah, you've been so supportive, and if it wasn't for that, it would be impossible. I wouldn't even have given myself a chance. So thank you so much. Onwards and upwards. Let's go.
Is Daddy going to Berlin?
Hey, am I going? I want to break 220.